All right, off we go.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So I guess everybody found their room now. Welcome to the GLAM part of our session. I am right now sharing the Menti once again. So please, if you have questions, put them in the Menti so we can answer them together. It's also, if you have a question to someone specifically, maybe indicate the name in the question so we already can contribute the question to the person. The first speaker here is Edwin Rock, and he will talk about updating ballads into Ballad Plus. I give the floor to Edwin.
Okay, I'll share. Let me know if it works.
Yes.
Okay. So I will be talking about our journey from a ballad to a new ballad. And we're of course keeping in mind to stay as fair as possible. I won't be explaining fair again. I would like to apologize in advance if I go a bit fast because I have too many slides and too little time. So I'll be going quite fast sometimes. So to start, first of all, the old ballad turned on really old code, and we really needed a change. It was also made to be used kind of by experts. Normal people that didn't really know the subject had a really hard time finding things. Now, this had as a consequence that the new site can no longer just use the API that was included within the collection management system. So we had to build an entire new infrastructure, which is a lot more complex, but it does give us advantages that we can extend whatever data we want to include into Ballad. And I will explain a bit more later on. Ballad is currently not launched yet, but we're supposed to be launching a test in April. There will be an invite at the end of the presentation, and the launch is probably going to be at the end of June. Then there's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3 launch with updates, but there aren't any fixed dates for that yet. So this is basically the infrastructure of Ballad. I won't be going into detail of every little thing, but it's there in case anyone is interested in how everything works together. Like I say on the slide, we try to use everything open source, self-hosted, and developed in-house. So we're basically almost not dependent on any commercial company for anything, aside from the collection system at this point. What I'll mostly be talking about now is these three ones. These are basically the three sources from which we harvest into Ballad and where our data comes from. Now, the first one is a digital asset management system, which is also in-house made, which basically contains several information to create, for example, the FFF manifests, metadata that can be generated by AI, permissions for the assets, like can they be shown, to who can they be shown, dimensions of images and other things. So this is the front end, but of course it also has an API, which we harvest with. Then there's the system that was already being used by the old ballads, which was Adlib, which has now migrated to Axial. This is the old Adlib, and the migration just finished in 2026. This is the system that contains our object descriptions, and now it migrated to a new version as well, front end as well as the API migrated to a new version. And the third source that we're harvesting from currently is called Cordra. It's kind of like a repository, but more complicated than that. We kind of needed a different sort of repository because our intervention dossiers contain a lot of different data because of our interdisciplinarity. So we had to find a way to make the context make sense for a user that looked at our data. So that's why we went maybe a different route than most people do with repositories. The backend kind of looks like this, which means that every little thing in Cordra is a digital object. And the Cordra basically makes links between those objects. And this means that we can be very granular in that every object can have its own files and its own metadata, and you can keep the context of an entire research. We use the data from Codra and we kind of put it together in Balat into an interface, which I will show in a bit. So basically, once we're done harvesting from these three sources and any future ones possibly, it all comes together into an Elasticsearch cluster on which an API is built, and then a front end is built upon. This means that, so this is the flow, like we harvest sources, then we kind of sometimes transform the data, we link the data, we enhance the data by combining things or looking at other APIs and seeing what can enhance the data that we're already harvesting. And then it all gets ingested into an Elasticsearch cluster, which makes it like a little Google on our data. And on top of that, we build our own API, which calls the Elasticsearch cluster to give us results from our data. And on top of this API, we finally built the new Balat. And the new Balat will be a lot easier than the old one. Instead of having, I think, 16 fields, you start with one field, and that one field will simply search into all the fields that exist across all the data sets. At this point, it's around 180 search fields that it looks in across all the data sets. Some of these data sets will be coming later, like the research activities and annotations within phase 2 of the project. So for example, if I search for Rubens, I find results for all the sets. This is, for example, the results from the library. It's still a bit bare bone because we haven't really developed that much into the visual style of library. You also get results for people, which is basically all the different names we have for Rubens and Rubens himself. Then there's the objects that you get. And of course, at the main page, when you search in all datasets, you kind of get a preview for around 12 or 14 results. And at the bottom, you get the option to look at all the results for that data type, which means that if you click on that, you enter a search engine for that specific data type, which gives you a lot more options, like the refinements, sorting, suggestions, specific options to search, and you can switch to an advanced mode, which is kind of a compromise for the old expert mode in Balat. So on this site, we built in a suggestion system that gives you suggestions from several of the search fields. It's quite complex in the backend, but it can help people at least find things a lot more easily now. We also give the user options to enhance their search or make their search more strict. So the search can also look into hierarchy, which basically uses the thesaurus to also find things that are related to or like a specification of the subject you're looking for. For example, like if you're looking for stone, it will also find all the records that contain marble, granite. If you use fuzzy, that's if you really can't find anything and you're not sure about how something is written, you can use fuzzy and it will try to find matches by making a few changes to your query. Wildcard is probably the most common one used by all databases, which basically completes anything that might come behind your query. And AI-generated data will include a toggle so that users can decide whether they want it included or not in their search. But that's probably for phase 3. So this is the advanced search, which is a little bit similar to the old search form, except now we're allowing users to create the form they want, and it gets saved in their browser. So they can basically construct their form one time, and they'll always get the same form back, because we noticed that a lot of users are fairly used to a specific way of using the form on the old Balat. So we tried to offer a solution to that. So if they click on customize form, they basically get the option to choose out of any available fields, and they can change the order. They can use the thesaurus. It will look up specific terms for that field. They can use autocomplete. So there is still an option for the expert users. Then there's also a result view in the form of a map, which will also probably be implemented in phase 2 because we're still waiting on a project that will add the geo-coordinates. And at that point, we will be able to show the results on a map in Balat instead of just a listing of results. And if we click on one of the results, you get links to the objects that are placed on the map. And you end up in a detailed record of an object, for example. And this is what it will look like. Detail pages of objects will open with a high-resolution zoom banner. Then you get a quick gallery of the images, which is followed by tabs which contain the information about the object, which is basically the art historical metadata, and several other information. If we continue to another tab, you get the gallery, which then links to photographs, which have their own detail pages. But at this point, you could also choose to open all the images from the gallery in the sync viewer, which is something I'll show at the end, which is kind of like a research tool that we developed as well. So if you would click on a photo, you would get a similar page like an object, but then for a photo. So every record has its own detail page with its own information. In this case, a photo opens with a high-resolution zoom, also an information tab. And in the future, we'll be adding similar images, which will use AI to do a reverse image search in the collection and find similar ones. And it will also allow to enter your own image, and it will try to find something similar in our collections. And annotations that could be added with a viewer that I'll show at the end as well. Of course, for an object record, we want to make sure that you can always find relations to anything. So if you go to the tab dossiers, you will find the dossier that is opened that is related to this object, which then contain links to the research activity, again, showing that everything is interlinked with each other, and also everything has handles. I forgot perhaps to mention in Codra, everything that is created in Codra and everything that is created in Balat has a handle, up to really specific small details even. This will probably launch in phase 2 as well. This is a preview of what research activity would look like. A research activity is like a dataset, except it's like a combination of multiple datasets together that belong together. So it's a lot more complex than a standard repository. So we had to try to find a way to make it clear to people how the organization is done. And we do this by first giving a description of the entire research activity, again with a handle as usual. And if you go to the data tab, you get an entire folder structure which you can browse in, which basically opens mini datasets related to the specific type of activity that you selected. So if I open, for example, the tab data Raman spectroscopy, and I open one of the measurements, you get an entire detailed record. The object tree basically collapses and you get an entire record that shows the data of that measurement, the files related to it, then the people that worked on it with also a handle, the equipment used, the software used, also with handles. So if you want more information about the specific software or the machine, you can follow the handle. And then for reusability, the most important one is the parametrization. We basically save how the machine or the software was configured while doing the analysis for optimal reusability. And of course, you can cite, because that's what researchers apparently need to do, from what I heard. And aside from the data, we're also working on an alternative representation of the data, which is like an interactive node graph, but this is still under construction. And of course, like any of our records, you get relations back to the objects for which it's about and the intervention dossier. Then to finalize, this is one of the viewers we'll be having. This is the compare viewer. It will allow anyone to load any images from BALAT or IIIF manifests, also external ones, so from Harvard or any other institute. And then you can select up to 4 images to compare, and you can choose which mode you want to compare in. So we have the split view, which moves the images independently. We have the sync view, which moves them in sync together. So any zoom will do the same zoom on any image. Any movement will do the same movement. Then we have the curtain view, which is really difficult to show in a presentation, but it basically shows the different images split around the cursor movement. So I couldn't really show this in a presentation without a demo. And then there's the layered view, which basically piles all the images on top of each other and allows you to change the opacity or the visibility of each layer or the order in which they're in. Because we know that photos or special photos are not always taken in the same conditions, and the sizes might be different, or some of them might have a border, so they're not really aligned. We implemented a system where the user can put 3 points at any place identical on all the images, and the system will align these images for you, which means that you can take images that are somehow related or you want to compare, and you would end up with a usable system where the layers are all suddenly aligned, and this would be active for the layer view, the curtain view, and the sync view. Even for photos that are taken from a different angle, you can still align a specific subject of all the photos, and it will align centered on that, and it will kind of diverge once you get away from the points you aligned. And the other specialized viewer we made is the annotation viewer, which will mostly be used in phase 2 and 3. So we can make annotations, for example, to link samples from the data sets, to link entities, information, make story viewers, and also let AI do automatic annotations, and then the users can approve the annotations if they're correct or not. And then they transform into a usual information system. So this is what we've been working on, and I would like to invite you all, if you're interested, to join the test, for which we will send links in probably early April. It could be a bit later, but we'll see. And that's it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Edwin, for the super interesting tour through BALAT. And yeah, please share the link, the testing with us as well. Once you do, our second team of speakers is Thuy Anh Pham and Christina Vandendijk, and they will talk about the Data KBR project. Please feel free to share your presentation.
Okay. So do you see the presentation real good? All good? Okay. So hello everyone, and thank you for joining today. My name is Christina, and today with my colleague Thuy, we will present the work that KBR has carried out through the Data KBR.be project and how it feeds into the federal open data ecosystem. And so Thuy will walk you, my bad. Sorry, Thuy will walk you through the goals and the methodology of the project, and I will make a demo of the KBR data platform. So you go, Thuy.
Hi, everyone. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, so a few words about the project then. Data KBR.be was a 4-year project funded by BELSPO. The goal was to enable data-level access to KBR's digitized and born digital collections so that they can be used for digital humanities and computational research. So in other words, going from access for reading to access for computing. So this work could not have happened without a strong interdisciplinary collaboration. So from KBR, we had the digitization teams, ICT, curators and researchers, and so Sally Chambers on the slide was our wonderful project coordinator. We also had from Ghent University, the Ghent CDH and ID Lab, from U Antwerpen ACDC research group, and from ULB and KBR again, the CAMI research center. So bringing together cultural heritage professionals, researcher, digital humanists, and data scientists ensure that our technical choice were aligned with actual researchers' needs. The project was organized into 5 work packages, and I will focus mainly on work packages 1, 2, and 3 for this presentation. So first, we had to co-design the research scenarios, then preparing the data sets, and then the data access via data.kbr.be. So 3 complementary research scenarios were designed: Collective Action Belgium, the Feuilleton in Belgium, and History of Belgian Journalism. We'll not go too much into detail today, but you can read about it in the slides later if you want to. And so the work package was not just about choosing 3 scenarios. It was about understanding what researchers actually need. We held workshops, interviews, and requirement gathering sessions to explore questions such as what kind of dataset should we build, datasets based on collections as they exist or based on research questions, what formats, metadata, or OCR quality are required, what are the technical implications of each scenario regarding article segmentation, layout recognition, etc. The key output of this work package was not only the scenarios, as I said, but also a better understanding of the researchers' needs, and this guided the technical decisions in the rest of the project. Then in work package 2, we operationalized these requirements by developing a sustainable data extraction workflow. So we work with our internal new stock infrastructure to extract large volumes of METs, ALTO, XML, PDFs, and TIFFs. And because research needs were very diverse, we adopted a progressive strategy. So we began with a shared data set to evaluate OCR quality, metadata, etc. And we performed 3 iterative extractions to progressively improve formats and completeness. We also addressed practical challenges such as dataset size, slow downloading, unzipping, or simply to have a shared space between the teams. So the interesting part is the work package 3. So for designing the platform, we benchmarked data platform from other national libraries, particularly Scotland, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. We consulted also researchers and the digital data strategy team at KBR. We also held a brainstorming workshop with the follow-up committee to validate functional expectations. And we also used the GLAM Labs checklist to publish collections as data. We used it as a framework for technical and functional requirements. So the checklist provides a structured method for thinking about collections as data, and it helped us address criteria such as rights and licensing, persistent identifiers, versioning, etc. And so we mapped those criteria to practical requirements adapted to KBR. And then we translated those requirements into wireframes. And after that, there was the long journey of finding a developer to transform the wireframes into an actual platform. Yeah, as you can see, these were the requirements that we made based on the checklist. And you can find the checklist also on the glamlabs.io website. So the goals of the portal, so KBR data allows to centralize KBR's openly available datasets, whether they are hosted on SODA or Zenodo or any other open and trusted digital repository, a bit like data.gov.b that we talked about. But the idea is to go beyond just datasets. So the portal aims to offer a portal for all data-related things going on at KBR. We want to provide instructions to access and research the collections via the OAI PMH and Z3950. We also want to link to the KBR's GitHub's repositories, link to DH tools, and later we will also connect the platform to the future virtual lab. So the idea is to create a single KBR data-oriented hub. As expected, we also faced several challenges. First, where could we host datasets with criteria such as versioning, DOI, etc.? And so it's really great that we had the SODA presentation first, because the solution already existed thanks to SODA, and KBR already had a separate repository there. So we decided to focus on SODA. This came also with the challenge of staff shortage at the archives, as the person that had the technical expertise on SODA had just left at that time. Now we have Istvan. And another ICT staffing issue was to find a web developer that could develop the portal. We had several rounds of hiring, but they had been unsuccessful until we managed to hire Christina via Eagle for the Belgica web project. And so these challenges unfortunately impacted the platform's development possibilities and timelines. Potential improvements to the platform might include strengthening the interoperability between SODA and KBR data via the Dataverse APIs. We also want to make datasets fully searchable, or developing a research-friendly Z3950 tool, and maybe via the virtual lab project, adding a strong authentication. You can find the final reports on Orfeo again for anyone wishing to explore the project in more details. And now Christina will make a demo of the beta version of the KBR data platform.
Okay, so I'm gonna just share my screen. If it's working, do you see my screen? Yes. Okay, so welcome to KBR Data. Basically, well, this is basically the homepage where we decided to simply present the latest data set that were added to KBR Data. And so here we go for the data set. So here you have to understand that it's like the beta version. So we don't have a lot of data set already. We have the 3 data sets that Thuy mentioned, so feuilleton in Belgium, newspaper as data, and collective action in Belgium. since it's a beta, we can do a lot of things. So to be able to show you a little bit more, we added some fake dummy content. I think all the dev and technical here, we understand that it's like lorem ipsum. So basically, we have a bunch of data set, and it's pretty straightforward and easy to use. As Tri mentioned, we plan to do a lot of more, to add a couple of more features later on, probably through the Virtual Lab project. But that will be a next step. Here you have all the data sets, and you can filter with different things like the type, the collection, the theme, the centuries, or the format. And so let's say I want some bibliographic data types data sets. Well, it's simple. It's simply a little form that will allow you to filter just the data sets that you already have here. The main part of that project, let's be very honest, was more the admin side of it. Let's say like that. So as an admin, you have to understand that on Virtual Lab on KBR data for the moment, if you want to post a data set, it's possible. You have submit a new data set form where you have to fill out a bunch of metadata, of course. But that when you post, when you submit a data set, the data set will need to be approved by what we call the data steward. That will probably be someone at KBR. And so we needed a way to manage that because we don't want, as a developer, just to change the database live. We don't do that anymore. So basically, it was the goal was also to provide a little interface in order to manage the data sets. And so here the admin also has the possibility to create a data set. Basically, it's exactly the same form as this one. But you can also approve or disapprove it quite fast with that button, because like that you don't have to go in all the data set, because you can do it here too, actually, if you are going to the edit form. But yeah, we wanted something a little bit more easy, because if you have a bunch of data sets, it will be probably easier for you to just approve like this. So this is basically what we call the CMS. That's not nothing more here. It's like just editing, having a view, having the details, and also delete some data sets. We also provided a kind of CMS for the pages. So if you are going to the menu here, we have some pages with some information about the project and things like that. And the goal was to provide a tool that we will not have to work too much, technically speaking, if I may say. If someone is like, oh, we need a new page, or we need something new in the APIs page, for example, because we build a new API. Simple as that. So we've decided to provide some kind of CMS for the future data steward to be able to manage the content of the pages. And so basically you have here all the pages, and you can move. Well, it will be, I think, more relevant if I'm showing a page already existing. Yes. So here the resources pages. So you have two options. You can decide that that pages will be available in the header or in the footer, because we also have some pages here. You can decide the position in the menu if you want resources before APIs or stuff like that. And of course, since we are in Belgium, you can provide the content of the pages in different languages, because not the admin is only in English, to be honest with you, but the rest of the application is available in the 3 national language. So that's also why it was more easy for us to provide what we call the WYSIWYG, in order to provide some way of managing the content in a nice way, let's say like that. And so I think I make a big turn, I know. So here we go for the demo of the beta version, I think. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Maybe you can show also just one data set.
Yeah, indeed, that could be handy.
How long would that take? Because we're also at the end, so you would be perfect in time now.
It will be okay, don't worry. So here, for example, I choose randomly the collective action in Belgium. So basically a dataset is like a title, a description, and an image. Here it's more metadata about the creation of the dataset and things. So when it was created, the last update, language, and things like that. You also can download the dataset, and you can have like the citation and licensing publication if there is. Of course, in this one there was not. I was just not lucky when I choose randomly. And yeah, every data set can also be related to the other data sets, so they can be there can be a link between them. It's not really since we don't have a lot of data sets yet, it's not really relevant, but I'm pretty confident that when we will have plenty of data set, it will be pretty nice for the people to see a related data set and see quite easily, oh, this one is linked to this one. And so voila. And Tui helped me, because I know I'm a little bit like, so if you think, no, I think I'm good this time. I did not forget anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Voila.
Excuse me, we now need to go back to the main room. Thank you very much for the insight in the data KBR project, and also the walk through the prototype and your position of the collections as data at KBR. I now ask all attendants to please leave the room. Not end the meeting, leave the room and come back to the main room for questioning. Okay, see you.